So today I'm going to cover the topic of ratio and proportion. So what is ratio? Ratio is a relative comparison between quantitative measures of two kinds or two items. Basically, you're comparing two numbers. That is a ratio. For example, two students, Naseem and Hanif, are studying in a class, have their ages 18 and 24 respectively. Find the ratio of the ages. Now, this means that you're supposed to compare the age of Nasir and Hanif. So we can compare it based on Nasir's age ratio to Hanif's. Now over here, Nasir's age is 18 and Hanif's age is 24. So this is a ratio in the way that I have written it over here. Basically, the two dots that you see over here, these two dots signify a ratio. And the number over here that you're keeping in the numerator, so over here we get Nasir's age in the numerator, this is called the antecedent. So this over here is the antecedent. And whatever you are keeping in the denominator, this is called the consequent. Now, it is also possible that the question might ask you to flip this consequent and antecedent. So you might have to calculate the ratio of Hanif's age to Nasir's age. The question is going to specify which one do they want you to calculate. So in this case, the numerator will have 24 ratio 18. Moreover, you can simplify the ratios as well. The 24 to 18 can be simplified to 4 and 3. So you can write the ratio in its simplified form of 4:3. Now I'll explain the simplification more in the later examples. So moving ahead. Okay, wait. Now, if you look at this question over here, they're asking you in a college, there are 30 faculty members and 500 students. So over here, the faculty members that you have are 30 and students are 500. Now, part A, what is the ratio of number of students to the number of faculty members? Now, number of students is coming first. 2 means that you're supposed to use a ratio over here. So number of students to number of faculty members. This is the ratio that you want. Students over here is the antecedent and FM over here is the consequent. If I take this students to faculty member ratio, this will give me a ratio of, students are 500, faculty members are 30. And I will try to simplify this as well. So 0 and 0 can get cancelled off. 50:3 is the simplified version. 50 does not come in the table of 3. So this would be the final simplification. Similarly, what is the ratio of number of faculty members to the number of students? Now you can see that faculty members is coming first. So now they're asking you in part B, faculty members to students. So for this one, you're going to keep the faculty members first. So 30 will come first and students would come later on. So 0 and 0 will again get cancelled off. 3:50. So depending upon what is being asked first, that is going to be your antecedent. So you need to understand the questions according to it. Now moving ahead to, let me just address. Now, simplification, or we also call it standard form of ratio. So simplification or standard form of ratio is when elements or terms of a ratio are integers and their highest common factor is 1, which means that they are no longer divisible. Now, if I calculate for the first one, 18 is to 24 into its simplest form, that would become, so let me just write it. So 18 is to 24. Now, in order to solve this, you can begin with the most small number. If you find dividing it with that is easier. So for example, if I start with 2, I know 2 9s is 18. So this is 9. And I know 2 12s is 24. So 12. So I have divided it by 2 over here. Now I'll see if this can still be divided more. So 9 and 12 both come in the table of 3. So if I divide by 3, 3 3s is 9 and 3 4s is 12. 3 is to 4. Now I can't divide it any more further. So this is a simplified form. Now, if you look at the next one, which is 3 is to 4, 5 is to 7. So now we have it in the form of fractions. Now, how can we solve this? Is to 5 is to 7. When you have a ratio in this form, the easiest way to solve it is to cross multiply. So over here you have 7. It will go and multiply over there. So 7 3s are. And on this side, you'll multiply this. So 5 times 4. So this will give you, continue over here, 7 3s is 21 and 5 4s is 20. So this is a simplified form. This cannot be further divided or solved in any way. Now, if you look at the third question, you have a mixed number over here. So a mixed number can be converted into a fraction like this. So first we're going to do this. So 9, how to convert it now? 9 multiplied by 1, you're going to multiply and then you're going to plus it over here. So 9 1s is 9 plus 5. So this will give you 14 over 9. Similarly, 13 times 3 is 39 plus 4 will give you this is actually 15 over here in the book. So 15 times 3 and then plus 4 is going to give you 49 over 15. Now again, what you can do over here is you can cross multiply. So 15 times 14 and on this side you have 49 times 9. So this is going to give you so 15 times 14 gives us stop with that. So wait, let me open the annotation. 210 and on this side 49 times 9 is going to give you 441. I need to see that which table will have both numbers. So you can divide both of them by 7. So if we try to divide them by 7, we get so if we divide it by 7 over here, 210 divided by 7 will give us 30 and 441 divided by 7 will give us 63. Now both of them come in the table of 3. So 3 tens is 30 and 3 21s is 63. So this is the simplified form over here. And the next concept is comparison of ratios. So how are you going to compare between two ratios, which one is has a greater value? Now, example 1.3 shows that Mr. A and B took loans of 35,000 and 48,000 respectively from a finance company. So you have A and B. A took a loan of 35,000, whereas B took a loan of 48,000. Mr. A paid 21,000. So 21,000 has been paid, and Mr. B paid 48,000 respectively. No, I'm sorry, Mr. B paid 32,000. So yeah, wait, there was something wrong with the question. Oh, yes, there was one line that was repetitive. So now we have Mr. A and we have Mr. B. Mr. A has taken a loan of 35,000 and Mr. B 48,000. Mr. A paid 21,000. So Mr. A has paid 21,000, whereas Mr. B has paid 32,000 after 2 years. Find who has better payment performance. Now, which one has actually paid better? For this, we're going to calculate the ratio for both of them and see which ratio is actually better. So if we take at the performance of A, the ratio that has been paid is 21,000 and the total amount that had to be paid is 35,000. We always keep the total in the denominator. Similarly, if we look at the performance of B, B has paid 32,000 and the total amount was 48,000. Now we will simplify it first. So these 3 zeros and 3 zeros can get cancelled off. And we know that 7 threes is 21 and 7 fives is 35. So this gives us 3:5. So we have divided it by 7. Again, you can cancel off all of these zeros over here. And from here, we can simplify it to 2:3. Now we need to compare both of the ratios, but the problem is that for comparison to occur, something in the ratio should be common. For example, either the antecedent should be common or the consequent should be common. So in order to do the comparison, we're going to make the consequent over here common. For that, we're going to take the LCM. So we know that we want to convert this into a common number. So we want to make this and this into common. So if we multiply this by 3 and if we multiply this ratio by 5, we will convert it into a common. So if performance of A would now become, so we're going to multiply the whole thing by 3. So 3 threes is 9 and 3 fives is 15. And for performance of B, we're going to multiply the whole thing by 5 now. So 5 twos is 10 and 5 threes is 15. So now you can see over here that we have converted this into a common number. Now, once you have this common, you can just compare 9 over 10. So you can see that who has performed better. We can see that B has actually performed better because B has paid a higher ratio, 10:15. So in this case over here, since 10:15 is greater than 9/15, we say that Mr. B had better payment performance. Okay, so now this is something that was not covered in your book, but there are MCQs related to this in the past papers as well. So increase and decrease in a given ratio. How do we calculate this? The simple formula for this is that if you want to calculate increase, you will take the value that you're supposed to increase and multiply it. So after I go ahead and multiply it by the big value in the ratio divided by the small. And if you want to decrease it, then you're going to take the small in the numerator and big in the denominator. Now, what do we mean by this? For example, we have increased 40 in the ratio 4:5. Now, because it says increase 40 in the ratio 4:5, that means you need to increase this 40. For this, you're going to take big in the numerator and the small value of the ratio in the denominator. So 40 multiplied by, this one is big, right? So 5, and this one is small, so 4 is going to come in the denominator, and then we can solve it. So 4 ones is 4 and 4 tens is 40, so 50. So 40 is going to increase to 50 over here. However, if the question asks you to decrease 40 in the ratio 4:5, then what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to take the small one in the numerator and a big value in the denominator. So in this case, you're going to solve with this. So you know 5 ones are 5 eights and 8 fours is 32 over here. So you can see that the value has decreased. So 40 has gone down to 32, and in this case 40 has increased to 50. And even if you look at the fraction that you're multiplying, it is going to tell you whether it is increase or decrease. So 5/4 means, so this means 1.25. So it means that you're going to increase it because you're multiplying it by a greater number than 1. However, 4/5 means 0.8. So in this case, because you're multiplying it by a number which is less than 1, it is going to decrease the ratio. Now, suppose we are asked to increase 60 in the ratio 8:5. Now, how are we going to solve this? So increase, so first we see that we're supposed to increase 60. So 60 multiplied by, now because we're supposed to increase, we'll take the bigger value in the numerator. So 8, and the smaller value will go in the denominator. So this is how you're going to solve this over here. Now 5 ones are and 5 12s are and 96. So this is the answer over here. And if it had asked you to decrease, then you would have multiplied it by 5/8. Now, basically, if we have come to continued ratio. Now, continued ratio, basically, if you have two ratios and you're asked to combine, you can combine them in this way. So we have A:B 1:2, and then B:C 2:3. And I want to find a continued ratio in this form. What will I do first is I'll write it in this form. So this is 1:2 and B:C. Now B:C is 2/3. Now because B over here has a common number, so the value isn't different, I can combine it into 1:2:3. So when the value over here is common, you can simply combine it by doing nothing in this way. However, at a lot of the questions, the value is not going to be the same. So in those cases, you will have to make the value same. For example, if we go on to the next question. So over here, you can see that A:B is 4:3, and then B:C is 2:5, and we need to find A:B:C. I'm going to write it in this way, and then just plug in the information. So 4:3, and then B:C is 2:5. So this is going to come over here, 2:5. Now, by looking at the values, I can see that B over here is not common. So B over here has a value of 3, whereas B over here has a value of 2. This B's at first, I'm supposed to make them into a common number. Now, one way of doing this is to think in the same way that we did earlier. So if I want to convert this value and this value into a same number, that means I'll have to multiply this by 2 and multiply this by 3. Essentially, I'm multiplying these two numbers. And because I'm multiplying one number in the ratio by 3 over here, then automatically I need to multiply this number by 3. Similarly, I'm multiplying this number over here by 2. And because I'm multiplying this by 2, automatically have to multiply this by 2. So if I do it in this way, I will get 8. 2 4s is 8. 3 2s is 6. then 3 2s is 6 and 3 5s is 15. So now I have 6 and 6 common over here. So I can combine it into the form of 8 is to 6 is to 15. One way of solving it is in this way, and another way is the arrow form. So whichever you find easier. Now again, I'm going to write it in this way. So 4 is to 3, 2 is to 5. So in the arrow form, what we do is that basically we draw arrow like this. So we're going to multiply 3 times 2. And the other arrows, they go towards the right. So 3 is going to be multiplied by this 5. So 3 times 5. And 4 is going to be multiplied by this 2. So 4 times 2. You can see it's still the same. 4 2s are 8, 3 2s are 6, and 5 3s is 15. So it's up to you, whichever you find easier to use. Well, let's now do another example over here. So we have A is to B, 5 is to 6, and then we have B is to C, 4 is to 9, and we are supposed to combine it into the ratio A is to B is to C. So A is to B is 5 is to 6, so I'll write 5 and 6, and then B is to C is 4 is to 9. So 4 is to 9 over here. So first, if I do it with the arrow format, that means 6 and 4 will get multiplied. So 6 times 4, and then we're going to go towards the right. So 6 9s are, and again towards the right. So 5 4s are, I was to write 5 4s are. So this makes it 20 is to 24 is to 54. So one way of solving it is to think it in this way, and the other way to do is to think that what are you going to multiply it. Both cases you'll get the same answer. So if I think in the other form, I'm going to do it one more time. 5 is to 6, 4 is to 9. Now I know that I need to multiply this whole thing by 4 to convert it into a common number. And similarly, I need to multiply this whole thing by 6 to convert it into a common number. So again, 5 times 4. And over here, you get 6 times 4 or 4 times 6. So that's the same thing. And then you get 9 times 6. You can see that it is actually the same answer. So 20. So 24 is to 54. And since we can see that over here we have 0, 4, and 4, so that means all of it is divisible by 2. In order to check whether something is divisible by 2, you will always have an even number as the last digit. So we can divide all of this by 2 and we'll get 10 is to 12 is to 27 in the simplified form. Now, example 1.5 is a bit different because over here you have AB and AC, and then you're supposed to express them in the ratio A is to B is to C. So first, let's just write it down and see. So shift this down. Let's just solve this. So we have A is to B, which is 3 is to 7, and then we have A is to C, 5 is to 13. So if I write it in this form, this is 3 is to 7. Now you need to follow the sequence of the word. So A is to C, it's not A is to B. So A is 5 and C over here is 13. So you have to take it over here. You need to be careful about this in the question. And now we're supposed to solve this over here, and we're supposed to combine. Now you can see over here that the common number is actually falling into A instead of falling into B as in the previous questions. Now to solve this question, I would not recommend the arrow method because that tends to become a little bit more confusing. Instead of that, we're going to use a multiplication method. So we know that this is the value over here that we want to turn into common, which means we're going to multiply this whole thing by 5, and we are going to multiply this whole thing by 3. So 5 threes is 15. Oh, let me just write it in the other form first. Sorry. So where is the okay, this is not drawer. Yeah. So we need 5 threes are 15, and then 7 times 5. Again, this 5 threes is common, so this is the same. We don't have to do anything over here. We don't have anything over here. And then we have 13 times 3. So 5 threes is 15, and 7 fives is 35, and this is 39. So over here you saw that we are going to make a common over here. Making a common would mean that you need a number that is common. So 5 multiplied by 3. Now, if you're multiplying this over here, 3 by 5, you need to multiply 7 by 5 as well. So this whole thing will be multiplied by 5. 5 threes are, and then you have 5 sevens are. Similarly, this whole thing will be multiplied by 3. So 3 fives are 15, and then this one has nothing, so you can ignore it. And 3 13s is 39. Now let's go ahead to another form of continued ratio. So now over here, basically we have A, B, C, and D. So it's a longer version. So we have A, B, C, and then D. First, we're going to solve till A, B, C, and then we will include D in it. So first, we're going to solve till A, B is to C. Now, A is to B is 4 is to 9. So 4 is to 9. And then B is to C is 7 is to 5. We'll solve it in the way that we do it. So 9 into 7. Go towards the right. So 9 is to 5. And 4 is to 7. So this is going to give you 28 is to 63 is to 45. And now once you have done A, B, and C, then we can incorporate D. So now we're going to do A, B, C, and D. So over here we have 28 is to 63 is to 45, and then C is to D is basically 3 is to 10 over here. This can also be easily done through the arrow form. So we're going to do this in that form as well. So 45 times 3. Then we have 45 times 10, 63 times 3, and 28 times 3. This will give you 84, 189, 135 is to 450. So arrow forms are actually very simple when you can see that the arrows are going in a logical sequence. However, in some cases, you should not use the arrow form because it can become confusing. Now, let's see if we can simplify it further. So this can be divided by 3. Now, how do you figure out if something can be divided by 3? Basically, you sum the numbers and C is a sum divisible by 3. For example, 4 plus 5 gives you 9. Plus 0 still gives you 9. So 9 is a divisible by 3. That means 450 is divisible by 3. Similarly, 5 plus 1, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again, divisible by 3. 9 plus 1 gives you 10. Plus 8 gives you 18. 18 is again divisible by 3. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 divided by 3 is again divisible by 3. So all of the numbers are actually divisible by 3. So if you divide it by 3, you get 28, 63, 45, and 150. So this is the simplest form of this equation. Sorry, of this ratio, not equation. Okay, so now let's do some past paper questions. So this is a 2019 paper, and we're going to skim through it to look at the questions that are related to ratio. So the first one. A quantity Q is increasing the ratio m is to n, where m is less than n. The new quantity will then be expressed as. Now, how can we solve this question? So we know that a quantity Q. So we know that the formula for this is value multiplied by is increase. So when you want to increase it, you basically keep the big value in the numerator and the small value in the denominator. In the ratio m is to n, where m is less than n. So this is telling you that which value is big and which is small over here. So m is the small value, whereas n is the big value over here. So the value is q. Let's plug in the information, and we know that the big number over here is n. This is telling us this, that n is greater than m, and the small value over here is m. So the new quantity will then be expressed as, now let's see which one is expressed in this form. So m over n, no, it's in the opposite direction. N divided by m multiplied by q. So this is what we wanted. So B is the correct answer over here. So they have tried to confuse you by not giving you numbers, and instead of that giving you letters. So you just need to plug in the information in the formula to calculate the answer. Now let's see if we can find another question related to ratios. To clear all of this. The next question is for percentages. So we'll do this later. Then this is also profit loss. Okay. Now this over here is giving you the information that there are 1.5 dozen bananas. Now, what does dozen mean? You need to know that for this. So 1 dozen means 12. So that means 1.5 would mean how many bananas. So that is the first thing that you need to figure out. 8 apples. Let's read the whole question. So there are 1.5 dozen bananas, 8 apples, 4 pears, and 30 apricots in a fruit basket. The ratio of bananas to apples in its simplest form. So you need bananas to apple and to convert it into the simplest form. So apples, we know that we have 8 apples. However, this is in dozen. So you need to know the number of bananas for it. So in order to calculate this, you're going to multiply 12 multiplied by 1.5 will tell you how many bananas do you have. So 12 multiplied by 1.5 will give you, okay, so yeah, 12 multiplied by 1.5 is going to give you 18. So you know that you have 18 bananas and you have 8 apples. So simply multiply 12 by 1.5 to convert it into numbers. Now you need to simplify it. So 18 and 8, they both come in the table of 2. So 2 9s are and 2 4s are. So the answer is 9:4. Similarly, let's see we can find another question in this 2019 paper. So I forgot to clear the annotation. Okay, so moving ahead. Oh no, this is compound interest. Yeah, there were only 2 questions in 2019. So let's open another exam paper, 2018. Okay, so this is the paper for 2016 now. We have some questions related to ratio over here. So the first question is the simplest form of the ratio 26 is to 65 is to 91. So this is simple. You simply need to divide it to figure this out. So 26 is to 65 is to 91. So if you divide all of these numbers by 13, if you divide all of these numbers by 13, basically 13 2s is 26, 13 5s is 65, and 13 7s is 91. Therefore, A would be the answer over here. Now, increasing 10 in the ratio 7 is to 5. Again, you need to calculate increasing. You have 10, which is the value, and you want to increase it. So the bigger number 7 will come here, and the smaller number 5 will go in the denominator. So 5 1s are, 5 2s are, 14 is the answer over here. Similarly, the next question is Yeah, so if we decrease x in the ratio 3:5, we get, now, for this question, you're supposed to decrease x in the ratio 3:5. So x is the value that you want to decrease. And because you want to decrease it, you're going to keep the smaller value in the numerator and the larger value in the denominator. So the answer is going to be 3x/5. So C. So this is it for ratios. Now I'll move on to the topic of proportions.